Hey sis, have you ever noticed that like sometimes grief doesn't just feel like sad, it feels heavy? Not just like emotionally, but like something is weighing up down on your mind, it's weighing on your body, your energy. And you may even ask yourself like, why does it feel so much like pressure and pain all the time? If that's you, let's talk about it. Because sometimes it can either be one loss or multiple losses, like back to back to back to back. And it's what happens is like when those losses happen like close together, your heart doesn't just get the chance to settle in between it. And that's why it's called stacked grief, because one of the main reasons is it feels so heavy. And I had talked about stacked grief in another video, but that's like grief on top of grief on top of grief on top of grief. And it could be grieving relationships, it could be grieving the life you thought you were gonna have, it could be an actual loss like a death. It could be different life situations, different major things that happen in your life to shift your life. All of those things could be stacked, and it's called stacked grief because it's one after another after another after another. And one of the main reasons that it feels so heavy is because like your emotional system never got the chance to fully come back to the baseline. Yep. And I like to give analogies to kind of explain like what I mean, or give like a picture, a snapshot picture in like an example or analogy. So let me paint a little picture for you. So this is what's happening. Think about grief like the ocean, okay? Like in the background right now, I hear like water, I hear the birds, and I hear the waves of the ocean, okay? So think about grief like the ocean. And normally with waves, you'll have a wave that comes in, right? And you feel it. Like say you're on a boat and a wave comes, you're going to feel it, right? And then the water settles, right? And then another wave may come later, like after that, and then it settles, right? But what happens with the grief and the stacked grief is that it's one wave after another wave after another wave and another one, and they're like back to back to back to back. And so there's no space like for the water to calm down because it's one wave after another, which is why it's so wavy and some people get seasick because it's like it's one after another, and it didn't have time to just like settle down to where the water could stabilize. And so that's what happens with the stacked grief. So internally, it can feel like your emotions are constantly moving, right? And constantly shifting. And it's constantly heavy. And so that's the part that I really want to kind of hone in on and push through and help you understand is that like what your body's trying to tell you is that your heart hasn't really like had the space to fully process everything all the way through. And so with that said, let's talk about like what's happening with your mind and body, because grief is not, it's not just emotional. It's not just emotional. It's neurological, it's physical. And what happens is like your brain is trying to process multiple emotional experiences. So while at the same time trying to adjust to changes in your reality. So it's processing the multiple emotional experiences while also trying to adjust the changes that's going on in reality. And your nervous system is trying to find safety again. Yep. And so your body, what happens is your body is carrying the stress responses. And so even when you're not thinking about the loss, your system is still working in the background, trying to resolve it. And that's why you might notice things like you feel drained for no reason, like you may get overwhelmed even more easily than you used to. You may have like emotional moments to where it seems like they just boom, it hits you out of nowhere. You may struggle to focus, to feel like your normal self anymore. Your judgment may be cloudy because of everything. And then you may even ask yourself, like, why am I still feeling like this? Why? Why am I still feeling like this? And you should also, like, when you're going through something like that, you want to definitely take inventory and ask yourself, like, pay attention and ask yourself, like, how much have I been carrying? Because sometimes you can just go on and on and on, and work through things and fight through things and tough it out, as we say, but not even realizing how much pain you've actually had to carry. So take a step back and ask yourself, like, how much have I been carrying? Because what happens is, it's like when grief is layered, it's not one experience that your heart is processing, it's multiple experiences at once trying to be processed. And that's where it's so heavy, because it's not one thing. And if people haven't gone through this all at once, they don't understand it, so they cannot relate to you. And it's hard to even explain it, because you may not even know everything that's going on, but you feel it. But to try to explain it to somebody who's not going through it, they don't understand it. They don't understand it. Yep. And here's where we shift our understanding, because healing doesn't begin with pressure. It begins when we're aware of what's going on. Like when you can say, whew, in that season, it was a lot, or that was a lot for me. Because, like, personally, like, about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now, I had this type of season. Boom, 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 one that thing after another, another pain, another disappointment, another grief, another grief, and then boom, it was one after another. I felt like I was that in that ocean where the water never settled. I also kept saying, Lord, Lord, I feel like Job, like going through all this stuff for what? So when you can sit there and honestly say, oh my God, in that season it was a lot, or that was a lot for me, I didn't even have time to like process everything. Once you become aware of what you're actually going through, that's when things start to change for you. Yep. Because you stop rushing yourself, you stop judging yourself, and you start meeting yourself with compassion. The same compassion that you would give to everybody else. When you are finally aware of what's going on, like, I'm not myself, like, this was a lot, like, I've had to really endure, like, this is literally a lot. Yep. And then next thing you know, guess what? Here's the thing, God understands the weight that you've been carrying. Like, he already knows all the weight you've been carrying. And so even the weight that you didn't even have time to acknowledge. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to try to pretend like you're okay when you're not. You don't have to minimize what you've been through, because he already knows everything. He knows what you've been through. Because healing doesn't just happen when you ignore the weight, it happens when you acknowledge it and you allow yourself time to process it, one layer at a time. One layer at a time. Okay, sis? So if this message helped you and gave you some type of clarity, please like and subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you peace, love, joy, and happiness. My name's Melinda. I'm a life coach, a registered nurse, and a mentor. And on this channel, we focused on faith, healing, and emotional wellness. And so, if this message touched you or at all or gave you any type of clarity, please like and subscribe. Also, have a great day. All right. Love you guys. Bye.